Starbucks did not become vulnerable because people suddenly stopped drinking coffee. It did not lose its identity because another company discovered a better espresso bean. And it did not struggle simply because its drinks became expensive. The deeper problem was something far more dangerous. Starbucks became a victim of its own success. For decades, the company expanded across cities, countries, products, platforms, and customer occasions. It added more stores, more drinks, more food, more customization, more technology, more delivery options, and more ways to order. Every expansion appeared rational. Almost every addition promised more revenue. But together, they created an empire that was increasingly difficult to operate. And more than 200 years earlier, another empire had fallen into exactly the same trap. Napoleon Bonaparte conquered much of continental Europe. His armies defeated larger powers, overturned old political systems, and made him appear almost unstoppable. But the system that produced his victories contained the seeds of his defeat. The farther Napoleon expanded, the longer his supply lines became. The more territory he controlled, the more troops he needed to defend it. And the more victories he achieved, the more difficult it became to preserve the speed and focus that had made those victories possible. Napoleon did not fail because he suddenly forgot how to command an army. His empire became too complicated to maintain. Starbucks did not forget how to make coffee. Its empire became too complicated to maintain. This is the story of how Starbucks repeated Napoleon's greatest mistake, and why success can become more dangerous than failure.
Art of invention.
Starbucks began with a relatively simple proposition. It sold high-quality coffee beans. But the company that transformed global coffee culture was built around a much more powerful idea. When Howard Schultz visited Italy, he saw that cafes were not merely places where people purchased caffeine. They were social institutions. They offered ritual, recognition, conversation, a temporary escape from home and work. Schultz believed America could support a similar idea. Starbucks would not simply sell coffee. It would sell a place. The company later described this as the third place, a space between home and work where customers could meet, think, read, rest, or simply spend time without needing a larger purpose. That concept was strategically brilliant because it changed the basis of competition. Starbucks did not need to offer the cheapest coffee. It did not even need to offer the fastest coffee. It could charge a premium because the customer was purchasing more than the liquid inside the cup. The product included the smell of roasted beans, the sound of milk being steamed, the handwritten name on the cup, the music, the furniture, the familiar green apron, and the feeling that, even in an unfamiliar city, Starbucks would be recognizable. It was an experience that could be repeated. That repeatability allowed the company to expand. A new Starbucks did not need to introduce an entirely new concept for every neighborhood. Customers already understood what the brand promised. And so the stores multiplied. Starbucks spread across the United States and then across the world. The green siren appeared in airports, shopping districts, railway stations, business centers, suburban neighborhoods, and university towns. For a time, scale strengthened the experience. More stores created more familiarity. More familiarity created more trust. And more trust made it easier to open even more stores. This was the positive cycle of empire. Expansion produced recognition. Recognition produced demand. Demand justified expansion. But every successful empire eventually encounters the same question. What happens when growth begins to change the very system that made growth possible? Napoleon rose in a world of chaos. The French Revolution had destroyed the old political order, but it had not produced stability. France faced internal conflict, foreign invasion, economic pressure, and repeated changes of government. In this environment, Napoleon distinguished himself through speed, organization, and concentration of force. His armies did not always possess overwhelming numerical superiority. Instead, he often moved faster than his enemies expected. He divided his forces so they could travel efficiently, then reunited them at decisive moments. He attacked before opposing armies could coordinate. He forced enemies to fight on his timetable. This system produced extraordinary victories. In Italy, Napoleon defeated Austrian and Allied forces through rapid maneuver. At Austerlitz, he destroyed a larger coalition army in one of the most famous victories in military history. At Jena and Auerstedt, French forces shattered Prussia's military power. Across Europe, governments that had existed for generations suddenly appeared obsolete. Napoleon seemed to represent a new form of warfare. Faster, more flexible, more meritocratic, more modern. But his victories did more than defeat enemies. They expanded his obligations. Every conquered territory required administration. Every defeated state required a new political arrangement. Every new ally had to be monitored. Every border had to be defended. Every army required food, clothing, horses, ammunition, replacement troops, and communication. Napoleon's empire grew faster than the institutions required to stabilize it. The early French armies had benefited from mobility and improvisation. But an empire cannot survive on improvisation alone. The larger it became, the more Napoleon depended on cooperation from local governments, allied rulers, occupied populations, and distant commanders. Some obeyed because they admired France. Some obeyed because they feared Napoleon. Others obeyed only while French armies remained close enough to punish resistance. This meant that expansion did not simply generate power, it also generated friction. Napoleon increasingly had to spend resources maintaining previous victories while preparing for the next campaign. Success had created complexity, and complexity gradually weakened the speed that had made Napoleon successful. Starbucks faced the same temptation as every successful empire. It could not simply stop growing. It opened more stores, entered more countries, added drive-thrus, expanded food, developed cold drinks, created seasonal products, launched mobile ordering, and allowed almost unlimited customization. Most of these decisions were successful. Mobile ordering created convenience. Drive-thrus opened suburban markets. Customization made drinks feel personal. Rewards increased loyalty, but every success added pressure somewhere else. A mobile order is convenient for the customer, but it becomes another task competing with counter orders, drive-through traffic, food preparation, and delivery. Customization creates choice, but also more ingredients, more training, more possible mistakes, and longer preparation times. Starbucks was no longer operating a simple cafe. It was running a coffee house, a digital platform, a customized beverage factory, a drive-through, a restaurant, and a delivery hub inside the same location. The empire had expanded without moving a single border. Napoleon's invasion of Russia is often remembered as a defeat caused by winter. But the deeper problem was logistics. The farther his army marched, the farther it moved from reliable food, horses, ammunition, and communication. Napoleon could capture territory, but every mile made the army harder to sustain. By the time he reached Moscow, his empire looked larger on the map, while his actual position had become weaker. Starbucks had its own invisible supply lines. They consisted of labor, ingredients, equipment, software, training, and organizational attention. As the menu expanded, training became harder. As digital orders increased, employees had to manage queues customers could not see. A person entering a quiet-looking Starbucks might see only 2 people waiting. But the baristas could already be processing dozens of mobile and drive-through orders. The original system had been simple. A customer entered, ordered, watched the drink being prepared, and received it. The new Starbucks had multiple queues and multiple expectations. Some customers wanted maximum speed. Others wanted a social space. Some wanted food. Others wanted complex personalized drinks. Starbucks tried to serve everyone at once. And in doing so, it risked weakening the experience for everyone. The greatest damage was not slower service. It was the weakening of what Starbucks represented. The third place depended on small human moments. A greeting, a comfortable chair, and a brief conversation with a barista. But transactions are easier to measure than hospitality. When employees must manage mobile orders, drive-thrus, food, and customized drinks at the same time, they have less time to create those moments. The store may still look like a coffee house. Operationally, however, it begins to resemble a fulfillment center. Napoleon's empire faced the same gap between appearance and reality. It controlled enormous territory, but Spain consumed troops, allies became unreliable, and resistance spread. The empire looked powerful while its internal structure was weakening. Scale can hide exhaustion. Decline does not always begin with contraction. Sometimes it begins with expansion that no longer creates strength. Starbucks did not suffer from one catastrophic decision. Its problem accumulated gradually. One more drink, one more ingredient, one more promotion, one more way to order. Complexity rarely enters an organization as a threat. It arrives as an opportunity. A new product may generate visible revenue, while its costs appear elsewhere, in training, storage, slower production, employee pressure, and mistakes. The revenue is counted immediately. The complexity is absorbed across the system. Napoleon's victories worked the same way. Each conquest brought territory and prestige, but also new borders, responsibilities, and enemies. The gains appeared on the map. The costs were distributed across the empire. Eventually, Starbucks had to recognize that innovation could no longer mean only addition. Sometimes innovation means subtraction. When Brian Niccol became CEO, his message was clear. Starbucks needed to get back to Starbucks. The turnaround focused on simplifying the menu, improving service speed, supporting baristas, and restoring the coffeehouse experience. This was not merely cost-cutting. It was an attempt to shorten the supply line. A simpler menu means fewer procedures. Fewer procedures make training easier. Easier training improves consistency and reduces pressure. And less pressure gives employees more time for customers. Napoleon often treated retreat as defeat. Starbucks still has the opportunity to retreat before retreat becomes collapse. It does not need to serve every possible occasion equally. Strategic retreat is not the opposite of ambition. Sometimes it preserves the ability to advance later. Starbucks is not literally Napoleon's empire. A company can redesign stores, simplify products, and recover. But the comparison reveals the same underlying structure. Napoleon's advantage was speed, organization, and concentrated force. Starbucks' advantage was coffeehouse culture, consistency, and human connection. Both expanded by repeatedly applying that advantage. But expansion created additional obligations. Those obligations created complexity, and complexity weakened the original advantage. Napoleon's army became less mobile as his empire grew. Starbucks became less welcoming as its stores processed more transactions. This is the inversion at the center of the story. The strategy that creates success eventually begins to undermine it. Choice attracts customers until choice slows service. Technology creates convenience until convenience overwhelms the physical store. Expansion creates power until maintaining expansion consumes that power. The enemy is not growth. The enemy is growth without subtraction. Every organization has limits. Limited attention, limited space, limited training capacity, and a limited number of things it can do exceptionally well. Napoleon believed his victories proved expansion had no limit. Starbucks believed every new product and channel created another path to growth. But success does not remove constraints. It hides them. Starbucks may not need another revolutionary drink. It may need what it already had: good coffee, human connection, and an organization simple enough to deliver both consistently. Napoleon's mistake was not ambition. It was believing expansion had no natural limit. The greatest enemy of success is not failure. It is the complexity created by success itself.
Thank you for watching. I'm Daik. This channel explores the decisions that changed the history and what they teach us today. Please subscribe